Are you tired of chasing success but feeling like you never get there? Do you look around and see others moving forward while you seem to be stuck in the same place? Don't worry, you're not alone on this journey. The ancient Stoics, such as Marcus, Aurelius and Seneca, already faced this same dilemma over 2,000 years ago. They discovered a powerful truth that completely changed their lives. True success begins when we stop looking outwards and start looking inwards. In this video, I'm going to share with you some Stoic lessons that have transformed my life and can transform yours too. I'll show you how focusing on yourself is not selfishness, but the essential foundation for any lasting achievement. And pay close attention until the end, because the last lesson is precisely the one that most people ignore. And that's exactly why many remain trapped in cycles of frustration and stagnation. Don't make the same mistake. If you're ready to, stop wasting energy trying to control the uncontrollable and start investing in the only territory where you have absolute power, yourself. This video was made especially for you. Leave your like now so that more people can discover these valuable teachings, and subscribe to the channel to continue your journey of personal growth with the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. Shall we begin? The power of focusing on yourself. Imagine your mind as a garden. What you cultivate on a daily basis will determine what blossoms in your life. The ancient Stoics deeply understood this truth. Our reality is shaped by what receives our attention. When we allow our mental energy to be constantly hijacked by external concerns, other people's opinions, circumstances beyond our control, pointless comparisons, we become like boats adrift without a clear course, tossed to and fro by the waves of life. Stoicism teaches us that there is a more powerful path, consciously directing our attention to our own development. When you decide to focus on yourself, a silent but profound transformation takes place. You stop being a passive spectator of your own life and become the active protagonist of your story. This change of perspective is revolutionary because it shifts the center of power from the outside to the inside. External circumstances will continue to exist, but they gradually lose their ability to determine your state of mind and your actions. As Epictetus, one of the great Stoic masters, taught, it is not the things themselves that disturb us, but the opinions we have about them. By focusing on yourself, you learn to distinguish between what you can and cannot control, directing your energy only towards the former. This internal focus creates a mental space protected from the constant distractions of the modern world. In an age where notifications, social media, and endless information compete aggressively for our attention, the ability to turn inwards becomes not only important, but essential for our sanity and progress. The Stoics practiced this internal recollection even in times far less distracted than ours. Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, warned, "Many people don't really live. They just exist." This purposeless existence is the direct result of a lack of internal focus. Self-care, far from being a luxury or selfish, is the necessary foundation for any meaningful life. When you take the time to nurture your mind and spirit, you are investing in the most valuable resource you have, yourself. This investment generates returns in all areas of your life. Your ability to contribute to others, to do meaningful work, and to face adversity with balance depends directly on the quality of your relationship with yourself. The Stoics understood that in order to be useful to the world, we first need to cultivate our own inner fortitude. Like a well that needs to be full to offer water to others, our ability to positively impact the world depends on our own development. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor and dedicated practitioner of Stoicism, kept a diary in which he recorded reflections on his principles and values. Even though he was the most powerful man in the known world at the time, with countless responsibilities and pressures, he understood the fundamental importance of turning inwards on a daily basis. In his Meditations, he wrote to himself, strengthening his mind against the temptations of absolute power and the adversities of life. This habit of daily reflection was not just an intellectual exercise, but a vital practice that kept him connected to his deepest values, allowing him to govern with wisdom and face difficulties with serenity. The true power of self-focus lies in the gradual transformation it produces. When you consistently direct your attention to your personal development, you begin to notice patterns of thought and behavior that previously went unnoticed. You identify automatic reactions, limiting beliefs and habits that no longer serve your growth. This expanded awareness is the first step towards any significant change. The Stoics believed that self-knowledge was the basis of wisdom. Epictetus said, "First learn the meaning of what you say and then speak." This principle applies not only to words, but to all our actions. We must first understand our motivations and impulses, and then act with intention and purpose. Consistency is the key to transforming this internal focus into concrete results. Profound changes rarely happen all at once. They are the result of small actions repeated daily with clear intent. The Stoics understood that virtue is not achieved by occasional grand gestures, but by the daily practice of principles. When you identify specific areas for development, whether it's improving your discipline, honing professional skills, or developing greater emotional balance, and work on them consistently, you create an unstoppable force for personal transformation. Like a drop of water that, falling persistently in the same place, eventually pierces the hardest stone, your consistent actions, guided by internal focus, have the power to completely transform your reality over time. Focus on yourself. The foundation of true success. Imagine sailing on a turbulent ocean where giant waves of information, opinions, and expectations threaten to sink your boat at every moment. This is the world we live in today. Social media, constant notifications, and the pressure to always be connected create a perfect storm that scatters our attention and takes us away from our true north. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy, offers a beacon in this storm, the transformative power of focusing on oneself. In a world where digital distractions and other people's opinions compete fiercely for our attention, focusing on yourself is not only important, it's absolutely essential to achieving success. We live in an age where people constantly compare themselves to unrealistic standards and seek external validation. But Stoicism teaches us that this behavior leads us away from the true path to success. To achieve extraordinary results and find clarity in the midst of chaos, we need to redirect our attention inwards, where the tools we need to overcome any obstacle and achieve true excellence reside. The problem arises when we seek external validation for our achievements. When our perception of success depends on the approval of others, we lose control of our journey and become slaves to expectations that we can never fully meet. In addition, constant comparison with others creates a dangerous trap. There will always be someone apparently more successful, happier, or more advanced, but this perception rarely reflects the full reality. Every time we spend our mental energy comparing our chapter 3 with someone else's chapter 20, we waste valuable resources that could be invested in our own development. This incessant search for external validation creates a vicious cycle that drains our energy and keeps us stuck in a state of stagnation. The solution begins with a fundamental change in perspective. Instead of looking outside for answers, Stoicism invites us to look inwards. As Epictetus taught, we shouldn't worry about what is beyond our control. Our only task is to perfect what is in our hands, our thoughts, actions, and character. The ancient Stoics practiced daily the exercise of distinguishing between what we can and cannot control. This simple but profoundly transformative practice allows us to direct our energy only towards what it is in our power to change. We can't control what others think of us, external circumstances, or the obstacles that come our way. We can, however, control how we respond to these challenges, how we interpret events, and how we choose to act in the face of them. This clear distinction frees our mind from constant preoccupation with external factors and allows us to focus on the only territory where we have absolute power ourselves. When we begin to cultivate this internal focus, we discover an inexhaustible source of strength and clarity. We realize that true success does not lie in external achievements or the recognition of others, but in our ability to live according to our deepest values, regardless of the circumstances. Authentic success comes from the inside out, not the outside in. It is the natural result of a daily commitment to our own development, to overcoming our limitations and expressing our unique potential. This focus on self also makes us more resilient in the face of life's inevitable difficulties. When our source of value and satisfaction lies within us, rather than in external factors, we develop an emotional stability that allows us to weather any storm without losing our way. Setbacks and failures cease to be catastrophes and become valuable opportunities for learning and growth. This resilience is not only a shield against adversity, but also an engine that drives our continuous progress. Another powerful benefit of focusing on yourself is freedom from the crushing weight of other people's expectations. How many times have we abandoned our dreams or compromised our values to meet what others expected of us? When we redirect our attention inwards, we begin to listen to our own voice instead of the external voices that try to dictate our path. This reconnection with our inner compass allows us to chart an authentic course aligned with who we really are and what we truly value. Focusing on ourselves also transforms our relationship with time. Instead of wasting precious hours worrying about what others are doing or thinking, we invest that time in what really matters: our growth, our meaningful relationships, our projects and purposes. This conscious use of time not only increases our productivity, but also enriches our experience of life, making each day more meaningful and satisfying. Eliminate destructive comparisons. Social networks have completely transformed the way we see other people's lives. Through the screens of our devices, we are constantly exposed to only the most outstanding moments in other people's lives. The most radiant smiles, the most impressive achievements, and the seemingly perfect experiences. This carefully edited and filtered version of reality, however, is nothing more than a meticulously constructed illusion that distorts our perception of what is normal and achievable. Behind these perfect images lie the daily struggles, repeated failures, and deep doubts that we all face as human beings. When we fall into the trap of comparing our complete life with all its imperfections, challenges, and low moments to this idealized and fragmented version of other people's existence, we inevitably feel inadequate and insufficient. Stoic philosophy, with its millennia-old wisdom, teaches us that this comparison is not only deeply unfair to us, but also completely useless, as it diverts our energy and attention from the only path that truly matters: our own personal development. This tendency to compare our journey with the carefully selected moments of others generates a deep sense of insecurity and a constant feeling of always being behind or falling short. This destructive mental habit puts us in an endless and exhausting cycle where others always seem more successful, happier, or more fulfilled than we are. However, this distorted perception is based on a fundamentally false premise. We don't know the internal battles, painful sacrifices, or significant difficulties that others face. We only have access to what they deliberately choose to show the world. The ancient Stoics, such as Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, emphasized the importance of focusing our attention only on what is within our control. The achievements, appearances, and circumstances of others are completely outside our sphere of influence. When we obsess over comparisons, not only do we move away from our true essence, but we also lose the vital connection with our own deepest goals and values. By constantly measuring our worth by external and arbitrary standards, we become extremely vulnerable to paralyzing doubt and chronic dissatisfaction, regardless of how significant our actual achievements are. The Stoic solution to this problem begins with a fundamental change of perspective. Instead of constantly looking outwards and comparing ourselves to others, we must turn our gaze inwards and focus on our own path. This means setting personal standards based on our own unique values and circumstances, not on the external appearances we observe in others. When we define success in our own terms, we free ourselves from the tyranny of comparisons and begin to experience genuine satisfaction with our personal progress. This liberation from destructive comparisons also allows us to genuinely appreciate the success of others without feeling that it diminishes our own achievements. The Stoics believed in the interconnectedness of all human beings and the importance of celebrating the common good. When we stop seeing the achievements of others as a threat or a reminder of our own shortcomings, we can develop an attitude of admiration and even inspiration without falling into the trap of negative comparison. Let go of what no longer serves your success. Throughout our lives, we accumulate relationships, habits, and goals that, at a certain point, had a clear purpose. They helped us grow, overcome challenges, and find direction. However, there comes a point when many of these elements no longer align with the person we are becoming and the success we seek. Stoicism teaches us that clinging to what no longer serves us is not only pointless, it is a direct obstacle to our progress. When we insist on keeping what should be left behind, we carry an unnecessary weight that prevents us from advancing towards success. The problem arises when we resist letting go, whether out of fear, nostalgia, or the false belief that abandoning something means failure. We cling to relationships that no longer nourish us, to habits that drain our energy, and to goals that no longer align with our deepest values. This attachment keeps us stuck in a cycle of stagnation, investing time and energy in elements that no longer add value to our journey. In doing so, we close the door on new opportunities and experiences that could propel us towards the success we really want. Fear of change is one of the biggest obstacles, but the Stoics remind us not to fear what is beyond our control, but to focus on how we respond to these inevitable changes. The solution lies in practicing conscious detachment. This doesn't mean impulsively letting go of everything, but honestly assessing what is still valuable in our lives. The Stoics taught that we must learn to let go, not with resentment, but with gratitude for what these experiences have given us. By releasing what no longer serves us, we create space for the new. It's like clearing a garden. Removing what is withered allows new seeds to grow strongly. Trusting the process is essential. Letting go can be uncomfortable, but it is necessary for our evolution. The uncertainty that accompanies change is temporary, but the opportunities that open up are infinite. When we finally let go of what no longer serves us, we experience a profound transformation. We feel lighter, with more energy and clarity to direct our efforts towards what really matters. The space we create by letting go is filled with new experiences, relationships, and learnings that are in tune with our current version. Letting go not only frees us from unnecessary burdens, but also prepares us to face life with more flexibility and resilience. We learn to embrace opportunities that previously seemed impossible. Stoicism teaches us that life is a constant flow of changes and transitions. nothing is permanent, and resisting this reality only causes us suffering. When we accept that some things must be left behind, we align ourselves with the natural course of life. This is not a loss, but a gain. We gain freedom and wisdom. By practicing detachment, we not only move on to new experiences, but we also learn to value the present more, without holding on to the past or worrying excessively about the future. Success is a continuous journey, not a destination. Achieving a goal is a moment celebrated by many, a milestone that represents effort, dedication, and perseverance. However, in this moment of achievement lurks a silent danger that can sabotage your future success: complacency. Stoicism reminds us that true success does not lie in reaching a final destination, but in constantly moving forward, growing and facing new challenges. When we allow an achievement to become our point of arrival, we begin to stagnate. What was once a moment of triumph can quickly turn into the beginning of decline if we stop looking for ways to keep improving and evolving. The problem with the "I've already arrived" mentality is that it drastically limits your potential. You become complacent, allowing routine and inertia to replace the effort and discipline that brought you this far. Even more dangerously, complacency makes you vulnerable to inevitable change, because the world continues to evolve even if you stop. The Stoics taught that life is a constant flow, and if you're not moving forward, you're inevitably moving backwards. Believing that there is nothing left to achieve can cloud your judgment, reduce your ambition, and eventually lead to dissatisfaction even with what you have already achieved. Purpose, the fuel of lasting success. Achieving a goal is a moment celebrated by many, a milestone that represents effort, dedication, and perseverance. However, in this moment of achievement lurks a silent danger that can sabotage your future success: complacency. Stoicism reminds us that true success does not lie in reaching a final destination, but in constantly moving forward, growing and facing new challenges. When we allow an achievement to become our point of arrival, we begin to stagnate. What was once a moment of triumph can quickly turn into the beginning of decline if we stop looking for ways to keep improving and evolving. The problem with the "I've already arrived" mentality is that it drastically limits your potential. You become complacent, allowing routine and inertia to replace the effort and discipline that brought you this far. Even more dangerously, complacency makes you vulnerable to inevitable change because the world continues to evolve, even if you stop. The Stoics taught that life is a constant flow, and if you're not moving forward, you're inevitably moving backwards. Believing that there is nothing left to achieve can cloud your judgment, reduce your ambition, and eventually lead to dissatisfaction even with what you have already achieved. The solution is to keep moving, constantly seeking new challenges. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reflected on how personal progress doesn't have an endpoint. Each goal achieved should be seen as a step on the way, not the top of the mountain. This doesn't mean living unsatisfied, but understanding that there is always something more to learn, contribute, and build. The key is to set new goals in line with your values and purpose. These goals don't have to be huge. Even small daily challenges can keep you focused and constantly growing. Seeking new challenges not only prevents stagnation, but also revitalizes your life. You realize that it's not just about the end goal, but about who you become during the journey. This continuous cycle of growth keeps you motivated and prepares you to face life's inevitable adversities. Each new challenge represents an opportunity to strengthen your character, learn more about yourself, and overcome your own limits. In this process, true success ceases to be a fixed destination and becomes a constant state of overcoming. Stoicism teaches us that success is not measured by a single moment of glory, but by the ability to persist and adapt over time. By accepting that arrival is not the end of the journey, we free ourselves from the idea that success is something that is achieved only once. We come to understand that each achievement is part of a greater journey, a journey that has no end, because there will always be something more to explore. This new outlook allows us to appreciate each stage of life, not as a stopping point, but as a starting point for something new. True success lies not in reaching a destination, but in the continuous process of improvement. It is in this constant movement that we find purpose and satisfaction. The Stoics saw life as an opportunity to grow in virtue, a journey to become the best version of yourself. It doesn't matter how many goals you reach, every achievement, every challenge overcome, every lesson learned brings you closer to a full and meaningful life. By understanding this, you learn to embrace change, face uncertainty with courage, and remain in a constant state of progress, regardless of where you are on your journey. Value your time as your most precious asset. Time is the most valuable resource we possess in the pursuit of success, and yet it is the one we most often waste. Every second that passes can never be recovered. Lost money can be won back, lost opportunities can be replaced, but misused time is unrecoverable. According to Stoicism, we should treat time as a precious asset, something that deserves our conscious attention and absolute respect. However, we often hand over our time without reflection to distractions, procrastination, and commitments that add no real value to our journey of success. Life is not infinite, and every moment wasted without purpose is a missed opportunity to move towards your most important goals. Wasting time is one of the biggest mistakes we make, often unconsciously. We get carried away by trivialities, allow the urgencies of others to dictate our priorities, or simply follow the inertia of doing what is easiest instead of what really matters for our success. Stoicism teaches us to take control of our time by focusing on the essential. As Seneca wisely observed, it is not that we have too little time, but that we waste too much of it. To really value time, it's essential to learn to prioritize. Not everything that seems urgent is important, and not everything that seems important deserves our energy. Tasks that have a significant impact on our long-term goals should take priority over those that only offer immediate gratification. This requires discipline, as it is often tempting to focus on what is easiest or most attractive at the moment. But without clarity on priorities, time dissolves into superficial activities, and at the end of the day, we realize that we haven't made progress on what really matters. Being aware of the present moment is another essential way of valuing time. Life happens here and now, but often our minds are stuck in the past or projected into the future. By living like this, we miss out on the richness of each moment. The Stoics practiced mindfulness, concentrating on what was in front of them instead of worrying about what they couldn't control. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations that we should act in the present as if each day were our last, because one day it inevitably will be. This perspective helps us to invest our energy in what really matters and to experience greater satisfaction in our daily actions. Valuing time also means learning to say no. No to commitments that aren't aligned with our priorities. No to relationships that don't add value to our lives. No to habits that don't contribute to our well-being. Saying no is an act of respect for ourselves and for the time we have been given. It means recognizing that every minute counts and we can't afford to waste it on things that don't make sense. By setting clear boundaries, we not only protect our time, but also strengthen our ability to focus on what really matters. The realization that time is limited should not fill us with anxiety. but with determination. Every day is an opportunity to get closer to our goals, grow as people, and make a meaningful contribution to the world around us. Living with this mindset transforms our relationship with time, allowing us to use it wisely and effectively. This doesn't mean filling every minute with frenetic activity, but rather acting intentionally, ensuring that each action reflects our priorities and values. Stoicism reminds us that life is brief, but we can give it depth by living with purpose. When we learn to value time as a precious resource, we stop spending it on the trivial and start investing it in the essential. In the end, it's not about how many years we live, but how we use each moment we are given. Focusing on what's important, being present and acting with intention are the keys to making the most of time and living a full and meaningful life. Build habits that drive your success. Habits form the basis of any significant success in life. According to Stoicism, our character and achievements are not formed by great isolated moments, but by the small actions we repeat consistently every day. Every habit you build, whether positive or negative, shapes the fundamental structure of your journey to success. If your habits are aligned with your goals, every day you get a little closer to the success you want to achieve. But if they're not, without even realizing it, you're moving further away from your most important goals. The key is to recognize the transformative power of habits to shape your destiny and take responsibility for consciously creating them. To build habits that drive your success, the first step is to set clear and specific goals. Knowing exactly where you're going helps you identify the daily actions you need to integrate into your routine. Without clear goals, it's easy to get lost in the inertia of everyday life, carrying out activities that don't effectively contribute to your progress. Think deeply about what you really want to achieve, and from there, identify the habits you need to get there. I sincerely thank you for following this video to the end. Your dedication to seeking knowledge in order to grow already shows that you are on the right track. Stoicism teaches us that true success begins when we focus on ourselves, abandoning destructive comparisons and distractions that take us away from our purpose. Remember, every day is an opportunity to build the life you really want. No matter where you are right now, by applying these Stoic principles, valuing your time, setting clear goals, and cultivating a growth mindset, you will begin to see profound transformations in your life. The path won't always be easy, but it will be yours, and that makes all the difference. If this content has touched you in any way, leave a comment below. If you don't know what to comment on, write focus so that I know you've watched to the end. And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, what are you waiting for? Subscribe now, turn on notifications, and join this community of people committed to your personal development. Stoic wisdom is here to guide us, but it's up to us to take the first step. Start focusing on yourself today. Your future self will thank you for it.